Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure. So we're working on the Kingquad 4x4 300 and we got as far as the carburetor, right? We know that she has compression and the starter works, we got spark, we got everything, but we need to do something with the carburetor. Anyway, it has a Mikuni carburetor on it, and there it is. I don't much care for Mikuni carburetors, never really did. I don't like the idea that you give it throttle, which opens that butterfly there, and then the vacuum opens up that thing. I just don't like the concept. I guess they're known as constant velocity, but I don't care for that. So that's strike one against this. The second thing is this is a mess. The gasoline and plastic and the stuff in the carburetor basically turned into tar. Everything is hard to move, well coated. I'm never going to get those jets clean. I could probably replace them, but once again, I just really don't want to use this particular carb. I looked up a clone. They do have them on eBay. They go for around 50 bucks, give or take a little bit. But as I mentioned before, I don't much care for this kind of carburetor. Never really did like them. So there are ways around it. I happen to keep an adapter which allows me to put the PZ27 on there. This is easy enough to make. Just a piece of brass, right? And this is a plumbing adapter. I buy these at Home Depot. You can get them any plumbing supply store. I think this is 1 1/4 to 3/4. Check your specific. And then once again, brass plate. You could get that. I get it at P&T Surplus. You can actually buy it over the internet. It's more expensive that way. But anyway, so the way this works is you take your plastic bag out of your intake and you take your adapter and you plug it right in there, and then you bolt the carburetor to it. And it appears as if I have enough space for everything, right? I think it'll all squeeze in there. I just have to keep an eye. There does appear to be this starter lead there. And you really don't want to arc weld to the bottom of your carburetor. That's just bad form, because eventually you end up with a fire, and you know what sits here, right? So you really rather not set yourself on fire. Obviously it would catch the seat, and before you know it, the whole thing would be going. So the first thing you do is you want to make sure it'll fit in there. And the second thing you want to do is make sure, this is the throttle cable, right? I push in the throttle, you can see, pulled. You want to make sure that you have enough cable length, because if you do not, what will happen is when you put it on there, your throttle slide will not close all the way, and when you start it up for your first ride and it takes off at about 1/3 throttle, you know, if you don't shut it down quick enough, you can damage the engine, or if you attempt to put it into gear, you can start breaking things, right? And let's try not to do that right off. So this is the original cap that kind of holds everything together here. And some of you are familiar with the way this works. And then you have the slide, and some of these slides come out easy. And you put the cap on. We'll try not to drop stuff all over the floor, right? So you take the cap and you put this on here, right? And then you put the slide on and so forth. And I could already see that it is going to be just too short. So there is a little work you can do to make things work better, and let me show you what that is. So I put the whole thing together and I realized I was missing by approximately a 1/4 inch, right? So to get the whole thing to settle in a little deeper, what I did is I just trimmed the top off of this, and I drilled the hole a little deeper so the or a little bigger, so that the casing would go through. Now that makes it so that my throttle will open fully and close fully. We already talked about closing fully because one does not want to have a runaway all-terrain vehicle. That's obvious. But you also want it to open fully, especially I'm putting a PZ27 in there, which is smaller than the Mikuni. So if one wants to get performance, one may want to full throttle it occasionally to do that. So anyway, now that I've got this done, you can see the adapter. I'm going to start bolting things together, and let's see if we can't make this thing run. So I shortened things up on top a little bit, as you can see, and if you look in there, you can see the carburetor does close all the way, open all the way. So I should be able to get complete performance from this thing. I'm going to continue to put it together, and once again, hopefully we get this thing to start and run and move. So it's in there, doesn't seem to be touching anything bad. Looks like it's ready to go. You can see the adapter. I just have to tighten this down. The air cleaner, we'll do something with that later. And this is a discussion we could all have. I'm just going to mention it now. This all-terrain vehicle is, what, just turned 20. It is 20 years old. And I just put a $20 carb into it. The adapter, call it another 10 bucks. That brings me to 30 bucks. And, you know, an air cleaner, call it another 5 bucks. So for 35 bucks, I could get this thing running pretty well. Will it be 100%? No, but it'll probably be 95%. And I could get all this extra stuff out of there. You get this stuff out of there, it'll help the motor cool down a little bit, give me a little more space. Maybe I can even get the battery under the seat rather than up front. You know, there's things to do, but it will not be an original 1999 Kingquad. It'll be different. So some people say, you know, you got to put the OEM carburetor on it. As a matter of fact, they even go through the trouble of rebuilding the old carburetor at all costs, or they find a used one or new old stock, and they pay whatever the number is, which could be in the hundreds to bring this thing back. Or you could just say, you know what, this thing is a rider. I'll take it at 95%, and I'll take it with that Clone carb. The nice thing about the Clone is you could get these. They're 20 bucks each. I can order, you know, a dozen of them, and for a couple $100 have them to my doorstep within a matter of days. The OEM carburetor, especially if you're trying to find some new old stock, you're looking at hundreds of bucks. Could be 4 or 5, and let me tell you, it might take you a little while to find it and everything else. So to me, my lean is, yo, it's 20 years old, I just want to make it run again. So this is what I'm going with for now. In the future, through some surprise, I find the right carburetor at a real reasonable price, I'll consider putting that in. Anyhow, in the meantime, I'm going to tighten that up, and we'll put some gas to it and we'll see what happens. So every time one works on one of these things, you try to get better at it. And what I did is I went with some clear tubing here, and you guys could see the mark right there. So I know I have fuel in it. And let's set the choke and turn the jump pack on, turn the key on, and see what she's gonna do. Ooh, I like that. Sounds like she's got potential. Let's give it a little less choke. Give that another try. No smoke. Wow, she even idles. One has to love that. We should go into gear. Goes back to neutral. And if any of this stuff works. Doesn't work so, doesn't move so, oh, push. Oh. There you go. I like it. I wonder how one does reverse. Well, I'll figure it out. It's not bad. I gotta tell you, I'm happy. What do you guys think? Yeah, she purrs right along. In my opinion, I don't know this to be a fact, but in my opinion, given the condition of the exhaust, the plastic, the pegs, the hand grips, I think it has somewhere around 13, 15, I'd say under 2,000 hours or 2,000 miles on it. I'm thinking somewhere around 1,500 just off the top of my head. I like the way it's running on that little carburetor. I don't have one of these running, so I don't know if they normally have that little bit of a shake. Running out of gas. Oh. So, what's left on this thing? Obviously, I have to get the fuel supply sorted out. I need to get that gas tank cleaned up, or, well, let's get that gas tank cleaned up. So that's first, and that'll allow me to hook it all up properly. Second, I have to make a commitment to this carburetor or going back to the old one, and the reason why I say that is because it affects the air filter. If I decide to put your typical single stage air cleaner on it, I got to make that decision, get all that junk out from underneath there, and put that single stage air cleaner on it. So those are a couple of things I need to do. It looks like it's going to move. I need to start looking up prices for a seat or a cushion and a cover. I need to get a battery into it. The oil should probably be changed. You know, now it's going from will this thing run to going through the various maintenance aspects of it. Everything considered, I'm probably okay on this one. My buddy gave me a good price, which is in the land of positive. Unfortunately, a window got broken, which is a pretty good size deduction. So it went from, you know, like a really, really great deal to, you know, I'm okay on this, given the broken window. But once again, it also depends how far I go in restoring it. I really just want to use it as a, you know, rider, you know, around the property and so forth. It's a nice looking machine. It should get pressure washed and cleaned up. And then it really, I don't know. Have any of you guys plowed with these things? Are they any good at that? I mean, will they actually push snow? I know in the low range, I mean, it'll probably climb a house, but I'm just not sure if the rest of the drive is strong enough to actually push snow without getting hurt. Well, anyway, I also have to finish inspecting the bottom of it to make sure the boots are proper over the CV joints and all the rest of it. I just kind of gave it a casual look. The last thing one wants to be doing is driving around on an exposed CV joint, get dirt in there, and end up trashing it. So, remember, please keep your feet down, your heads up, and I want you all to get out and enjoy each and every day. Take care now. Bye.